people.
No. Yes. Soon, Pinky, they will be under our control.
Yeah,
They will do whatever we say.
whatever we say.
Whatever we say.
Will they bring me Purell?
Yes!
That would be lovely. Hello.
They will use breath mints.
Yes.
Yes!
Especially for
And
my
so will we.
Yeah.
I promise.
Thank you. Thanks, Andre.
Thank you guys.
Well, that's Rob Paulson.
Hello.
And that's Maurice LaMarche. And together we're cops. Thank you so much, and thank you, Stan, for having us.
Yes,
This is
Stan. Thank you so very much, wherever you are.
A real thrill for us. And I have to tell you, when we were backstage, and I'm going to sit down because I'm old. When you were introducing us, it is such a joy to hear that, not only see all your smiling faces, but to know that 20 years later, I mean, before you were born, most of you were born, people still love Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. And I think that is a...
Mozambique, Gambia, Swaziland, Gambia, Algeria, Ghana. But wait, there's more. Burundi, Lesotho, and Malawi, Togo, the Spanish Sahara is gone. Nigeria, Chad, Nigeria, Egypt, Benin, Gabon, Tanzania, Somalia, Kenya, and Mali, Sierra Leone, and Algeria. Dahomey, Namibia, Senegal, Libya, Cameroon, Ghana, Zaire, Ethiopia.
Get up here.
Can we turn Batman's mic on, for God's sakes?
What the hell are you doing here? Get out of my room.
Yes. Say something magical.
Okay. I love you, Burt.
No, Adam and I have a lot of fun. We've had a great time. It's been a fantastic ride for 50 years. We've made so many personal appearances, thousands and thousands, and meeting so many people. And we really do have a great time. You know, people say, well, how can you go out and just, meet so many people and not get bored?
You pull on that cowl and it's like you're a kid again. Hey, you want to go and play Batman and Robin? I sure do. Come on, let's go. Get that blue bath towel. It's simple.
And Lee, you've had so many roles over your career, including Time Tunnel, one of my favorite shows too. I'm still watching that on MeTV. I don't know if you guys are watching that. Boy, that's a good show. But you must get people talking to you all the time about Catwoman / Miss Kitka from 1966 from the original Batman film.
All right. If you were a novelist, what would your great American novel be about?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that.
Sweet!
I finally got a question.
You finally got a question.
I don't even know what it'd be. I have to sit and think about it. It would have to be about people who don't get along well, which is most people in the world. And I have to try to find a way to let them know they could get along better if they did this, that, and the other. That would take a lot of writing, and I don't think I'll be here long enough to write it.
I was so excited, my whole life. Here I am at the Doctor Strange premiere, and I'm talking to Stan Lee, and then I almost murdered Stan Lee. It's like the most terrifying I've woken up in a cold sweat like 5 times since then, like, oh my God, I didn't kill him. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
I gotta tell you a story about almost tripping and falling. When I was about 18 years old, I had a job. No, I was about 17, but it doesn't matter. I had a job at a theater in New York in Times Square called the Rivoli Theater, kind of a fancy theater. I was one of the ushers. And one day, the president's wife was coming to the theater to see the movie. It was a new Bing Crosby movie, and there were 5 ushers. There were 5 aisles. Each usher had his own aisle, and I had one of the aisles. And we were all hoping Mrs. Roosevelt would come down our aisle. Could you imagine leading the president's wife to the seat? Sure enough, she came down my aisle. And I tried to be so good. I had my shoulders back, I stood straight. I looked straight ahead. This way, I said, Mrs. President. I didn't know. I said, this way, Mrs. President. And I'm walking with my flashlight and my head high, and some rotten guy had his leg in the aisle, and I tripped and fell right on my face. The next thing I know, Mrs. President is helping me to my feet. Are you all right, young man? Oh, it was the most embarrassing one. If ever you want my most embarrassing
That's
moment,
the one?
that was it.
What do you say to Mrs. President when you fall? And
I said, thank you for helping me to my feet, Mrs. President. I don't know what the hell I said.
So that leads to an interesting question. That was the perfect natural segue. How many presidents have you met, and who's the most memorable?
Let's see, I've met President Reagan. I'll tell you a funny thing about President Reagan. I was sitting across a table from him. He was sitting where you are.
Well,
here's a table, and I'm sitting. It was a dinner. And for some reason, I was a guest at the time President Reagan was. So you're the president, I'm me.
Okay.
Now you're sitting facing the President of the United States. What do you say to him? I couldn't think of anything to say. Finally, I said, God, oh no, I know. He had been president. He was now president no longer. This was a dinner date for the ex-president, Ronald Reagan. So I said, gosh, Mr. President,
yes,
you must be so relieved that you're not the president anymore. You don't have all the world's problems on your shoulders. You can relax. And I'll never forget his answer. He looked at me with his eyes wide. He said, no, I loved being president. He said it just like that. I love being president. I'll never forget.
Then you would have been like,
all right, so who's reading comics from the Young Animal line? Cool, thank you. Thanks for supporting that. And any people who are fans of Doom Patrol prior?
Anybody who's no longer a fan of Doom Patrol after my version?
I'm sorry, I'm just
Well, I think what I want to first start talking about here is, clearly Young Animal is a new imprint, and I think the idea behind it was that DC had approached you and said, hey, we want you to put together this line of comics, and they wanted to kind of take that DC Vertigo aesthetic and mix it with...
Yeah, it was many years of conversations. As a lot of people know, I started as an intern at DC Comics. I used to photocopy the pages before scanners were a big deal, and so I knew all the editors a little bit. I used to drop them off their comics in shrunken down form, and so anyway, it'd been years of talking to Shelley Bond, who's amazing. Yeah, and we talked about doing something at Vertigo a long time ago, so we always kind of stayed in touch, and been friends with Jim Lee for a really long time as well. He's very close with my brother, and he'd been coming to shows with his wife, and it was pretty amazing. So we had this relationship, and then we went and did a comic convention in South America together, and we would have these dinners every night, and we just kind of kept talking about doing an imprint or something. The idea was Jim's to do an imprint.
Oh, right on. And so now, and Shelley Bond was at DC at the time when you were interning.
Yes.
And
adventures in between the last time you saw him that you didn't know about.
Right.
And I love that storytelling device. I love that trick.
Open-ended on both sides.
Open-ended. So the writer never said where it came from, or who made it, or why he has it, or anything. So it gave us a lot of room to play with that.
And what's it like writing with John Rivera?
It's amazing. I mean, we met in a comedy writing class at SVA, and you know, we were the only two people that made each other laugh in the whole class, and nobody else laughed at our stuff.
John's about 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's about 6 feet
Big guy,
tall.
incredibly jovial, great dude.
Great dude. Been really close friends for a long time. And a lot of times we would sit around and just make up stories anyway.
Yeah.
That's what we did over the years. I mean, we worked on TV shows together. He wrote a film script with Mikey, so like,
wow.
he's kind of our, you know, sometimes he's our writing buddy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the unofficial, maybe after Grant's 7th member
Yes.
of My Chemical Romance. So whenever we need applause, I'm just gonna say MCR and you can cheer. Well, now let's talk about Mother Panic.
Sure.
Now, takes place in Gotham.
Takes place in Gotham, yeah.
Wears all white.
Wears all white.
Is a female vigilante a la Batman in that she's wealthy.
Yes.
And go.
Oh, let's see. Well, she makes people angry. We wanted to explore fame a lot. We really did. We wanted to explore kind of what it means today, our obsession with fame, what it takes to make a person famous these days as opposed to what it used to take back in the day. And she is somebody that just happens to be famous because her dad mysteriously died when she was young, and she has a lot of money. And that's kind of the only two reasons. She's like this polarizing figure. I mean, she's also famous because she says what she's thinking.
She's like an orphan celebutante who's not afraid to speak her mind.
Yes, basically, yeah.
And so Jody Hauser, who is writing the title,